Welcome back to the 12th man. Of course, this is our preview of the big games in the Premier League on the weekend, and we'll also be looking at fantasy football. You can still join our league, win £5,000 every single week. We will personally be giving away a Premier League shirt of your choice to whoever gets the most points from the weekend. The pin is on screen now, and there's a link in the description below. But let's go to the preview first, Pato. And there's a big game on the weekend, isn't there? What is it?
Liverpool versus Manchester United.
Woo!
It's at Anfield. It's on Sky Sports at 12:30 on Super Sunday. I believe it's a huge game. And Man United are going to be a bit worried because they're missing a bunch of midfielders. They're missing Pogba. He's still out for 8 weeks with that hamstring injury he suffered against Bars. Legs hanging off. Fellaini's out. I don't think anyone cares, but he apparently has got knee ligament damage, which will apparently rule him out for just 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's not major knee ligament damage.
He's a robot.
He's a big loss to us.
Wow. And the last miss is Michael Carrick with complications relating to being ancient. So he's going to miss a couple of weeks as well. And it's going to have to be a serious rejig from Mourinho. This is something that we actually didn't see him deal with in his last spell at Chelsea. They had really good injury record, and as a result he was able to play a really consistent 11. This time he's having to find solutions, but in fairness to him, he's kind of doing it. Fellaini in his last 6 appearances has got 4 goals. Pogba though, what a loss that's been. 2 goals, 4 assists at the start of the season, and you're never going to be able to replicate that level of output. You know, there's nobody in the squad who can do what Pogba's done.
Yeah, impossible to do.
Well, the man likely to replace Fella in that midfield is Ander Herrera, isn't it? That Spaniard will no doubt be deployed next to Matic, and that's not a bad-looking midfield. One of the big negatives, though, is that Herrera's not picked up a lot of Premier League minutes so far this season. Only 130, I believe, with the majority of those coming against Stoke, when Manchester United weren't great as a collective outfit.
He wasn't great either, Herrera, in that game.
Although he did come on against Everton, and Mourinho, when you beat them 4-0, and Mourinho said he changed the game. So maybe he's primed to reprise his starting position. Now, offensively, he's not great, is he? By virtue of being a defence-minded player. But if you're going to replace Pogba, you need to offer something going forward as well, don't you? He's averaging around 0.6 key passes per game. That's chances he creates for his teammates, whilst Pogba was averaging a mammoth 1.9 from that deep-lying playmaking position. However, defensively, he is absolutely superb. It was well documented last season that his numbers rivaled, if not better than N'Golo Kante's at Chelsea. Now, he was averaging 6.8 tackles and interceptions per 90 last season, and Herrera. Absolutely mammoth output, whereas Pogba was managing 1.8. So you'd think that he's going to be able to shield that back four an awful lot better than Paul Pogba. And away from home against the deadly trio of Liverpool, although Sadio Mane's out, isn't it? But Philippe Coutinho will no doubt slot in on that left-hand side. That's probably what you want. Now, we talk about Liverpool's attacking prowess. We saw Ander Herrera do a fantastic man-marking job on Eden Hazard when United played Chelsea. Do you think he'll do the same against Liverpool? Or will maybe Matic be given a bit more licence to go forward as a result? What do you think as a United fan?
I kind of think he's going to do a similar job to when we went away to Stamford Bridge and Herrera, before he got sent off, man-marked Eden Hazard out of the game. He was incredible in that match. I think he might do a similar sort of job on Philippe Coutinho.
Well, Mourinho normally sets up for a draw against the big teams away from home, doesn't he? So he played 2 defensive.
We're going to be extremely defensive. Matic and Herrera are going to be sitting very deep. I imagine Juan Mata will be given more of a free role in front of them, and then we're going to be purely playing on the counter-attack. Rashford, Lukaku, Mkhitaryan will be, only their job will be going forward counter-attacking. I think if Coutinho plays, which is probably likely because Sadio Mane, despite he's meant to be back this week, isn't he, after his ban, he has picked up a serious hamstring injury, meaning he's out for 6 to 8 weeks whilst on duty for Senegal. So Coutinho probably on that left-hand side, but he has been deadly since his return. 3 goals, 1 assist so far. If you haven't brought him into your fantasy team, I would highly recommend getting Coutinho in there before he eventually leaves for Barcelona. I personally think Herrera will do that job on Coutinho this weekend, man-marking him. It'll either be him or it'll be maybe a Matteo Darmian.
Wow.
Could do that job. All jokes aside, he also did that job against Eden Hazard at Old Trafford. So either Matteo Darmian or Ander Herrera. Ander Herrera by far the outstanding candidate, but this is going to be a very, very tight game. I'm nervous. Liverpool always step up against Manchester United, and that front three is extremely dangerous, even without Sadio Mane. Mohamed Salah has been in absolutely incredible form. 6 goals, 1 assist at the start of this season already.
And he's a midfielder.
Yeah, he's a midfielder on the game. So get Mohamed Salah in your team. Obviously, incredible form for Egypt as well, so his confidence is going to be sky high. But what do you think the score is going to be between Manchester United and Liverpool? Let us know your predictions in the comments below.
Next on the agenda is Watford versus Arsenal. I'll boot us off, boys, because Arsenal are having a defensive crisis, aren't they? It's at tipping point, much to Pato's chagrin. Obviously, Mustafi injured on international duty. It wasn't specified what sort of injury, but it's thought he faces a long spell out. Koscielny's also struggling with his fitness. He has a 50% chance of playing in this game. A lot of people have him in their team. Yeah, that sort of perpetual Achilles problem is really hindering him at the moment. Chambers also has a hip injury. I've had one of those myself. They are a nightmare to get over. And he's having a fitness test ahead of the game. So no doubt the back three will look something like this, Pato. Mertesacker, Monreal, and young Rob Holding.
Yeah.
Ooh. What do you think to that? With Kolasinac at left wing back, and obviously Bellerin at right back.
I like Mertesacker in the middle of a back three because it kind of counters the problems you have with his lack of pace. Like, he's an extremely good organiser of a defence, and you'd hope that with Monreal there, who I think you want to talk about, that might balance out Rob Holding, who has been appalling this season. Appalling.
A lot of responsibility on the young man's shoulders if he does play in this game. Watford obviously have a very physical attack, don't they? With the likes of Richarlison and Nakora. So good luck to him. But yes, the Spaniard, Monreal, averaging 4 tackles and interceptions per game at the moment. He's winning 2.4 aerial duels and he's completing 4.6 clearances. He's really stepped it up, hasn't he, at the start of this season. And he's the glue holding that sort of makeshift back three together at the moment, isn't he? What do you think to his form so far?
I think he's been excellent. I mean, the thing he's always been great at is anticipation. I think there's no Arsenal player who wins the ball back more in the opponent's half than Nacho Monreal. Obviously now he's playing a more withdrawn role, and that means that all that energy which was kind of missing when he was playing fullback, he now seems extra energetic as a centre-back. Plus he's got Kolasinac covering on that side, who adds some of the physical size that Monreal doesn't have. But Watford's defence, to me, is actually much more impressive than Arsenal's right now.
You're going to talk about that, aren't you, Joseph?
Yeah.
Because they've got a pretty solid back four, barring that result against City.
Yeah, surprisingly so. Some of their defensive work this season has been exceptional under Marco Silva, but Marco Silva, well renowned for being able to organise a defence fantastically well. 3 wins, 3 draws, 1 loss this season. Some would say, I don't know if you boys would agree with me, they've been the surprise package alongside the likes of Huddersfield.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, look really solid in every position, don't they? Got good players like Pereira, still to come back from injury, so yeah.
I mean, they have conceded a lot of goals, 12 this season, but when you actually look at the results, that's not too bad. 9 of the 12 goals they've conceded have been against Manchester City and Liverpool. So in the rest of the game, so in the other 5 games, they've only conceded 3, which is extremely impressive. Marco Silva, a fantastic coach, one of my favourites in the Premier League, as I've said many times on this show. He was actually unbeaten in 41 home games, but what's been impressive so far this season has been Watford's away form as well. In the 4 games they've played away from home, 3 wins, 1 draw, really, really good stuff. But having Arsenal come to Watford, Watford's home form really has to improve. But what you would say is their strike force, as well as their defence, has been surprisingly effective. Richarlison has been fantastic. What a signing he's been for Watford.
Yeah, well, it looked like he was going to be on his way to France, I believe, until Marco Silva intervened personally to get him. And he cost 11.5 million. And some people have said that's cheap. It's cheap now, but quite often for a 20-year-old, that's a bit of a risk.
Yeah.
We never really
Especially
know what's going to happen
Watford.
from the Brazilian league. You know, sometimes they're amazing, sometimes they're terrible. It's like the Eredivisie of the Southern Hemisphere. And he's come in from Fluminense. In his last 2 games, he's got 2 goals and 1 assist. He's absolutely on fire at the moment. I've got some stats here. Every 90 minutes, 2.9 shots from inside the box. By comparison, Lacazette, who we think is great at finding space in that zone, 2.4 shots from inside the box. He's also creating 1.6 chances a game. That's about the same as Chelsea's Willian, who I think has been great at the start of the season. So it's pretty much a one-man band. However, Watford do have some depth here. They've got Akaka, they've got Dini, they've got Gray, they've got Carrillo. So they've got a ton of talent waiting to come in. As Chris mentioned before, Roberto Pereira is yet to come back from injury. So I think that they can do some damage at both ends of the pitch. I'm quite bullish about Watford. I think they're going to have a great season. And in this game, at home against Arsenal, I don't know. I might go for a Watford win.
Yeah, I've bought Dini into my fantasy team this week. I actually think Dini could be really effective against the lacklustre Arsenal back four. I think he could bully Holding all over the pitch if he needs to.
I'm actually going to go for a relatively routine win for Arsenal, 3-1, I think.
Ooh.
I might go 2-1 Watford.
I'm going to go for a draw, 2-2. I think there's plenty of goals in this game.
So no consensus whatsoever.
Yeah, nobody really knows what the score's going to be. Who do you think is going to win? Vote in the poll up there. The final game we're looking at this weekend is Crystal Palace versus Chelsea. Now, Palace have been horrendous, but Chelsea have actually been pretty good. Morata, though, could be a big miss in this one.
He's going to be for my team.
What a player. We said at the start of the season that he could potentially be the best striker signing this summer, and he is proving to be one hell of a player. Obviously picked up that hamstring injury against Arsenal. 4 weeks out is this sort of estimate. And surprisingly, when he picked up that injury in the game, Conte chose to bring on Willian, which I thought was an interesting ploy. I think that kind of shows a real lack of faith in Michy Batshuayi, who we all really like. But why do you think he brought Willian on?
I just think maybe Batshuayi is better with playing with someone up front.
Yeah?
Whereas Alvaro Morata's... I don't know, I've not seen much of Batshuayi, but Alvaro Morata's pretty adept at running the channels as well, isn't he? He's a really powerful runner on the ball when he can pick it up from deep. Whereas maybe he was just kind of stemming the tide, you know, against Manchester City, and you thought, okay, until I can make a couple of moves to bring Batshuayi on, which he did eventually, I'll solidify my midfield.
But Batshuayi played as a lone striker at Marseille and on the wing, so I think he can do that role. What I found weird was the mesh between bringing Willian on, but then not changing their style of play. They were still lumping it long like they had done to Morata, and poor Eden Hazard was trying to bring the ball down and hold it up. That's never going to work with that front line of Pedro, Willian and Hazard. Who's going to do it?
What I have noticed, though, when they don't have Morata and they play Batshuayi, is his hold-up play is significantly worse than Morata. Morata is incredible at holding the play up, and Batshuayi seems to give the ball away a lot with his back to goal. What you can say about Morata as well is he's just an out-and-out striker in terms of goal scoring. 1.1 goals per 90 already this season. He's taking 3 shots from inside the box. That's incredible, incredible numbers. Better than Richarlison, who we were raving about earlier. And Batshuayi is struggling again for game time. I don't know how much longer he's going to stay at Chelsea with this limited game time. He still hasn't got a Premier League goal this season. He's played just 450 minutes. Last season, in 20 appearances, he made just 299 minutes. He was literally coming on for the last 5 to 10 minutes in every single game, despite the fact he was scoring in that game time. 1.5 goals per 90 last season, if you actually worked it out, despite the fact he only played 300 minutes.
I don't know why Everton didn't take a punt on him in the summer.
It's a massive problem if you're Michy Batshuayi that you're not getting game time, and when Alvaro Morata's injured, there's still question marks as to whether you're going to get that game time. And I think the fact that they were chasing Fernando Llorente so hard in the summer really shows to me Conte's lack of faith in Batshuayi, which would be a concern. And there are other concerning areas in this team. N'Golo Kante's injury really throws up some problems in midfield, I think.
Yeah, well, in the summer we were saying that this league campaign may be defined by injuries for the big teams, right? And Chelsea are in trouble in the midfield. N'Golo Kante, he's got 6 weeks out now after that injury sustained in France versus Bulgaria, I believe.
It was.
And so he's going to be out for a while. And the midfield, there are a lot of holes in it right now. Danny Drinkwater's got a calf injury. David Luiz has got a broken wrist, of course. And I believe he's still suspended.
He is. I think he's got 1 game left.
I mean, fortunately, Bakayoko, his defensive output since joining Chelsea has been massive. I mean, this is kind of similar to Ander Herrera, when we were talking about him before. He was never a defensive midfielder. He was always a box-to-box midfielder. Under Van Gaal, huge attacking output. And Mourinho has played him in a defensive role, and he can do it. Bakayoko, similarly, under Conte, huge defensive output. Whereas last season, I think he was about 2.5 tackles and interceptions per game. Now that number's over 5.
Incredible.
So it's absolutely crazy. And so he can play the defensive role, which allows Fabregas the freedom he needs. And that's just as well, because otherwise they're going to be stuck in a position playing Charlie Masonda or someone like that.
And he's fuming.
Who is, of course, complaining about his lack of minutes. So I'd be a little bit worried about Chelsea. However, I don't really think that Crystal Palace are going to break their scoring duck against this defence.
Well, no, they've scored 0 in 7. I think that is I think they're the only team yet to score from Europe's top 5 leagues. So if you're going to have an injury crisis, at least have Palace in the subsequent game after the international break, because they are terrible at the moment. Benteke is out until mid-November. You've got Connor Wickham, the Wicker Man, Wicker knees apparently, he's done his ACL, probably a little bit harsh. Zaha, he's facing a late fitness test. My thoughts are they'll probably try and rush him back for this game because their only recognised forward, and I'm having to look at my sheet because I've never heard of the guy, is Freddie Ladapo, a 24-year-old who's on loan at Shrewsbury last season, scoring 4 in 15
He came on against United, Ladapo, and he was shot to pieces. I mean, he's not exactly the sort of impact player you want coming on with an injury crisis.
When you haven't heard of someone and they're 24, that's normally not a great sign.
It doesn't bode well. Although Palace have occasionally proved to be Chelsea's booby team at various points in the last few years, beating them twice at Stamford Bridge. So who knows? Maybe Woy has got an Antonio Conte voodoo doll and poking his eyes out over the international break. But I can only see this going one way. Even with a very depleted side, I think Chelsea are going to run them over. Yeah. 3-1. Oh, they're going to score their 1 goal of the season.
You think?
Freddie Ladapo, 30-yard screamer now, we've slated him.
No, I think 2-0. I don't see Palace scoring, and I think Chelsea will comfortably breeze them away. Eden Hazard's going to absolutely toast that back line, honestly.
What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below.
Moving on now to our fantasy football segment with Sky Sports. It's never too late to join our league either. We're giving away a Premier League shirt of your choice to whoever gets the most points in a single week. So the pin is on screen now. There's a link in the description. The first question comes from @TheSaintsMarch. If you want to get a question next week, use the hashtag 12th man in the comments below. He says, I've had Gabbiadini since the start of FF, but what's going wrong with him? Pato, Gabbiadini, big problems.
What's going wrong with him is he's getting no chances. Throughout his career, he's always been a 4 to 5 shot a game guy. That's a really, really good marker of being a good attacker. At Napoli, though, 2.2 shots inside the area per 90 he was getting. Last season at Southampton, 2.9 shots inside the area per 90. And in both those places, he was getting 0.7, 0.8 goals a game. That's a lot. This season, 1.3 shots per 90 inside the box.
Halved.
And suddenly he's not scoring. It's no surprise at all. If you don't get chances, you're not going to score. He's not the kind of guy who's going to carve out those opportunities for himself. He needs a supply line. And at the moment, Nathan Redmond's the only guy making an effort. Tadic has not been playing, and when he has played, he hasn't been great. I don't know. I just think Pellegrino, obviously his success at Alaves was based on a really solid defence, and he's yet to show his ability to coach a competent attack. I mean, if he goes, I think you'd see Gabbiadini's numbers rebound, or if he just figures something out, which sometimes we see a couple of months into the season, then we'd expect it to improve. But has Gabbiadini become a bad player overnight? Of course he hasn't. Come on.
Well, I think expecting 15 to 20 goals from someone like Gabbiadini is a big ask. Yes. He has a very limited skill set. He's very good in the box. He's not bad with his head, is he either? But as Pato intimated, to get a good return in this Southampton side is a big struggle at the moment. And it was especially odd to me when they sold Jay Rodriguez, a good player who can play out wide, who could maybe have been a supply line to Gabbiadini. And they sold him to West Brom for a pretty paltry fee. I think it was 13 to 14 mil. Now he did have a long list of injury woes, but obviously Tony Pulis thinks he can get something out of him. So maybe Southampton jumped the gun on that one. Obviously have Shane Long in the ranks, but he was a striker who was very reliant on pace. He's approaching 30, that's going to drop. Puel didn't trust him at all, did he? No. I think his minutes were very limited under the Frenchman. But I can't see Gabbiadini breaking 10 this season.
No, I don't either.
They've become one of those teams who are a defensively sound unit and who are scraping wins, you know, by 1 or 2 goals, aren't they?
Yeah, he's not even starting every game. I think Pellegrino is kind of favouring Shane Long now, which speaks volumes. So if I was you, the Saints March, I would drop Gabbiadini from my Sky Sports fantasy football team. But yeah, that's that answered.
Next question comes from @Maddruz on Twitter, and he's asked, lads, should I drop Dele Alli? He's not getting the points I thought he would get me now. He's got 3 goals and 1 assist in around 710 minutes of football this season. So he's contributing to a goal every other game. Why is it you think Madars wants him out of his side?
I think it's harsh. I think you're wrong, Mandars. Keep him in there. I don't think you should drop him yet. You're jumping the gun. Tottenham are really starting to find their form, and the more goals Harry Kane scores and the better Harry Kane plays, the more goals Dele Alli will be involved in. And Harry Kane is currently on fire. Dele Alli, I believe, is still creating 2.3 chances per 90, which is an extremely high number. He will get assists for Harry Kane. Harry Kane is going to score so many goals this season. All Dele Alli has to do is get 10 goals plus, and his assists will do the rest for your fantasy team. I wouldn't be dropping Dele Alli yet at all. He's a key player.
I mean, he scored 18 league goals, didn't he, last season?
Yeah.
So if you're using that as a barometer for is he getting me enough goals, then maybe not. But that was an exceptional output. Pato, is there cheaper, better options than Dele Alli? That's the question.
I think you could probably get Mo Salah for less money, so I'd always go for Mo Salah in this position. But Dele Alli's going to have a great season regardless, so just keep the faith, mate.
Come on. You heard it from Pato.
Our final question comes from Joshua Antiop, and he says, how much longer can Burnley maintain their form? They are in 6th, and he's added an exclamation mark to show how ridiculous that is. Chris, why is it ridiculous?
6th, because they're facing 20 shots a game, Pato. Their expected goals per 90 is 0.6. They're only having 9 shots a game in comparison. What sort of black magic is going on at Turf Moor? Actually, they've been better on the road this season, haven't they? I think they only won. I think it took them like 3 or 4 months to win their first away game last season, and they've won 2 on the trot this season, or maybe even 3 now. I'm dumbfounded.
It's insane.
Literally, in certain games, everything Sam Vokes has hit has gone in.
But their home form is like Champions League quality. Like last season, they genuinely had better home form than some of the top 6 sides. It was mental.
Yeah, I mean, as well, you've also got to say, like, the games this season against the likes of Crystal Palace. Palace definitely should have won that game, or at least got something out of it. I mean, Scott Dan's missing open goals from 2 yards out, and Burnley are still keeping clean
and that
sheets.
red card with Chelsea as well.
The draw with Liverpool, the red card against Chelsea. I think they might be using all their good luck.
The last-minute winner against Tottenham Hotspur that Chris Wood scuffs in.
But they've now got enough points that you'd have thought they're going to stay up, would you not? Like, I'd have picked them to go down before the season because they are dreadful in every possible way. They're appalling. But they get these points on the board early, and then they can kind of like just grind out home results for the rest of the season.
How much longer do you think they'll stay up there, though? I think soon it's going to end. It's got to end eventually.
To be fair to Burnley, they invested wisely. They know what size club they are. They spent not last seasons, but the seasons before money on infrastructure. They totally overhauled the training setup, bought new training grounds. So that's why they didn't spend big. I think Defoe is still their biggest transfer. No, I believe it's Chris Wood now.
Oh yeah,
for the tune of 15, but that's still nothing in today's market, is it? So maybe if they stay up for another season, we'll see them start to spend Stoke-esque money.
Maybe,
you know, a 15 mil there, another 20 mil there, and they'll be able to play a different brand of football. You can't blame Daesh for being a pragmatist.
Not at all.
Because look at the players at his disposal. They all look like bouncers at a Wetherspoon pub. You know, they're just playing to their strengths, aren't they?
Very Brexity team.
But so Brexity. But fair play to them. Equally, if you're a purist, you want to see them go down.
They do play terrible football, honestly.
They are dreadful.
And Ian Wright's claim that Sean Dyche could be the next Arsenal manager could be one of the worst statements I've ever seen.
He's a turbo purist.
Yeah, absolutely shocking.
There you go, turbo purist.
So that's all the time we've got for on this episode of The 12th Man. Make sure before you do anything else, you join our Fantasy Football League. You can win £5,000 and a Premier League shirt of your choice. Sky Sports are also running Fantasy 6-a-side along the big games. They're very, very fun, so make sure you get involved in that. Thanks to Christopher, forgot your name there, and Patrick for joining me, and we'll catch you later. Sayonara.
Bye.